6:32.
6:32. We are starting at 6:32 for our School Health Advisory Council meeting. As y'all know, I am your SHAC chair. I am April Cooper Christensen. Shall I go ahead and move to approve the minutes for the next meeting, or do you have a slide for that?
We have a slide.
Okay. I wasn't able to open because I couldn't get internet stuff.
Oh.
Okay. So why do we have our SHAC? Why do we need this? One, simple, it's a law, which is fabulous. And this law enables us to have healthy children who learn better. Schools, as y'all all know, play a huge important teaching role in these healthy habits, which is also why this fabulous district has such an amazing school health support, whether it's through school nurses, health education, CPR in schools, or PE classes, and our awesome recesses. I have to say I'm very proud as a CFB ISD parent, one, to be a part of the SHAC, but also to be a part of our kids being healthy. So healthy homes and healthy schools support healthy children. Mm-hmm. Our goals. The SHAC assists, I hate this. Sorry, I gotta move the arrow, it's distracting, I'm sorry. The SHAC assists the district to ensure that local community values are reflected in health instruction, and it plays a role in strengthening the connection between health and learning, and it helps parents and community stakeholders to reinforce the knowledge and skills needed to promote healthy habits and behaviors for a lifetime. As you know, the components of coordinated school health are family and community involvement, which you all are a part of, and thank you for this. Nutrition services, physical education, health education, counseling, psychological and social services, health services, healthy physical school environment, health promotion for all school staff. And I would like to say district staff. So parent representatives. Parents of students in the district are required to make up the majority of this council, okay? This is policy, so please bring a friend. I did. And please invite others who you think may have an interest in participating.
Okay.
So we have appointed SHAC members for 2025. 2025 school year. Parents and community members, me, April Hooper Christensen, Kelly Taylor, Maria, Ritas, did I say it right? Okay.
I think so.
Caleb Rozier, Lacey Tominick, and Zohar. He's not been here in a while.
He was here last time. Yeah.
Huh?
He was here last time.
Was he?
Yeah.
I think it was the time before.
The time before.
Yeah, we miss him. Sorry. Gwen Perkins, Melissa Munoz, Crystal Ritana, and Samaria. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to say this last name. My apologies. Okay, and then CFB staff, Chris Moore, Rachel Freeman, Sandra Leek, Sylvia Mazura, who is usually our secretary, but unfortunately is not able to be here tonight. Laura Brookover, Yavara, and Renee Putter, and Jonathan Wilk, Kim Graham, and Linda Villamoretti. And at this point, I still messed it up, I'm so sorry. At this point, I would like to appoint Linda to be our secretary for tonight's meeting since Sylvia is not able to be here. So that's official. And then Veronica Morales, and then our wonderful board trustee right up front here, Carolyn Bienvenidos.
Benavides.
Bienvenidos. I am so
Don't
sorry.
you worry, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, so audience for guests, which we're gonna offer now, but then pull the guests for later in the meeting. This is guests who want to speak to our shack are welcome to. All they have to do is simply complete a meeting form, and it's titled, and it's at the back on the table, Request by Guests for Audience with the School Health Advisory Council. Each person requesting to address the School Health Advisory Council will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes for their presentation and may only speak once. Topics for audience guests should relate to at least one of our 10 components of the shack. And again, we will pull this for later in the meeting. Approval of minutes. The minutes from our last meeting, which was October 24th. The minutes were attached to the meeting invite and are available online for review. And they're also available at the sign-in table. I would like to see if any of you would like to motion to approve the meeting from the minutes from last meeting. Any motions?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Caleb. Caleb motions to approve. Second. Wonderful, Mr. Lopes. All right, so all those in favor of approving the minutes for the last shack meeting, please. Oh, I thought I was going crazy. They're turning down the lights. Thank you, gentlemen. Sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, thank you. All right, so we are going to address the weather guidelines. We are very lucky to have someone who knows how to deal with the heat come and address this for us. Please know that there was a full subcommittee formed to address this. Plus, we had what we learned evaluated by various medical personnel. And I'm going to turn this over to you. Apparently, this is what will advance to the next slide. You always have the pointer. You have it over here.
Okay. So slight correction, I am not a weather expert.
No, but he knows.
Yeah.
As our fireman.
My name is Caleb Rozier. I'm with Carrollton Fire Rescue. Just going to go off agenda real quick and say that Carrollton Fire is really grateful for the relationship with CFB ISD. For the 24-25 school year, we taught 4,948 5th, 8th, and 12th graders in CPR and AED. In the 8th and 12th grades, they get infant CPR along with the adult. We cover choking as well, and address the topic of fentanyl with the 8th and 12th graders as well, just to echo the great messaging that the administrators and counselors are giving them. So we appreciate the partnership that we have with the district and hope to continue that long into the future, long after I'm gone. So getting to the weather guidelines here, evidently the district has got some fairly outdated guidelines that we wanted to take a look at. And so this began with a subcommittee, and we just kind of did some research on our own. We looked at Louisville ISD, Richardson ISD. I was digging through some UIL guidelines and Austin ISD. And so in the discussions, who did we talk with? We spoke with Dr. Richard
Rivera,
the medical advisor for the district, the American Association of Pediatrics, and the National Weather Service. And this is what we came up with. So it's a 2-pager. You're looking at the top of it here. So all of the information that the administrators and teachers are going to need on a daily basis will come from PeriWeather. They will be able to select their closest weather station, and then they will need to look at Perryweather in the morning for the 8 to 11 hour, and then 11 to 3 to get separate metrics for decisions on recess, because mornings obviously typically lower than afternoon temps. Heat indexes can be different. And so that's what this first page covers, is the heat index. We go from green to red, obviously stepping up the levels of caution, break time, water breaks, all those sorts of things. I'm not going to read it to you. You've got one in front of you. Then we kind of bolded there at the bottom, campus administrators are going to be empowered to make the final decision for outside recess, and are going to develop a local system for their school to inform teachers of what the decision is for the day, signage or email or text or whatever they decide. So, any questions on that first page?
I do have one. Perryweather is not DeWitt Perry's weather, it's a system.
It is an application,
Okay.
hardware and software combined. Evidently, we've got some towers that read weather conditions, is
Okay.
my understanding, that transmit information to a website that all school administrators. Jonathan, do you want to add anything? You might know a little bit more.
So with Perryweather, it's a mobile app that every administrator, every school nurse, and all of our coaches have access to. We have weather stations on every high school, so basically within a mile of every elementary school, we have a actual weather station, and it updates readings every 5 minutes.
So for lightning, thunder, stuff
Lightning,
like that.
heat, cold, it does, it reads.
Ozone.
Winds,
Ozone,
Yeah.
wow.
action days, yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
So then wind chill factor, you'll see that here, we go from red to green. Again, campus administrators are going to make final decision. We're going to, let's see here, there were some other bullet points. Let me see that if you don't mind. Just something to point out. So teachers, coaching staffs need to be aware of it, right? I thought we were going to remove the word coaching.
Oh, we were.
Oh,
Teachers and staff need to be aware of the wind chill factor, take appropriate precautions, but also just to monitor, to make sure that students, they either have adequate clothing or we provide it or hold them out.
yeah,
Right?
It's off on
So-
this one.
yeah,
It's
sorry,
all-
that's
okay.
probably not the
Okay,
latest.
this is
Yeah,
not
so
the-
you did.
Sorry.
Perfect.
It's great.
Perfect.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was the only other thing I wanted to add there because it wasn't on the slide. So any questions on the cold or the wind chill?
And no, this is comparable to nearby districts as well. We consulted with Richardson ISD, Irving ISD, Louisville, and did we get Plano's? I can't remember. But anyways, lots of nearby districts as well.
Then at the bottom of the two-pager, we've got the reference to the National Weather Service guidelines that we looked at, and as well as the American Academy of Pediatrics source. So that's the long and the short of it. Brought to you by Carrollton Fire Weather. All right,
Thanks.
Wonderful.
I'm turning it over to April Hooper Christensen.
I know, it's a mouthful.
April, before we move on to the next thing, did we want to
Would you
allow
like
her
to go ahead, or do you want to wait till after?
I was gonna make a quick comment about this.
Please.
Just from you.
Let's do it from here so others can hear your thoughts.
Okay.
And there's a microphone up there if you need it.
Exactly, that was my thought.
How are you? I'm fabulous. How are you? Good to see you. I just want to say that I brought this policy to the school board for the policy committee, but this is such a better place for this to be is with y'all. And the reason it came to me was through a teacher who had kids in August in elementary, and as soon as it hit 97-degree heat index, she was like, can't take them out. And here it's 10 o'clock in the morning. and they're bouncing off the walls. So she was just wanting some clear guidance on being able to take the kids out even for 10 minutes at a time. So I'm just super thrilled that I think we're adopting this, is that right?
Yes.
Excellent. So that's all I have to say. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. This is awesome, isn't it? Okay, so we are next going to have a presentation on the district wellness plan. Sandra and Laura, I believe, are going to be coming up here and going to wow us. So as y'all, many of y'all know, Sandra Leak is the director of our health services here with the district, and it's fabulous, and our fearless district's leader for SHAC. And then we have our assistant director of our nutrition services. Yes, and this is Laura Brookover Ibarra. So thank you for coming, both of you, to do this for us.
April, did you want to approve this, or do you want to do at the end?
I thought at the end.
Expectations, because I don't know about wowing you all with this.
I thought at the end.
So the district wellness plan is intended to implement policy FFA local, which has been adopted by the board to comply with the requirements of the school wellness policy. So federal law requires that stakeholders be involved in the development, that we solicit implementation and periodically review and update the wellness policy. And the district has chosen the SHAC to work on behalf of the district to review and consider evidence-based strategies and techniques in order to develop and implement nutritional guidelines and wellness goals as required by federal law. So that's why we're bringing this before you today to consider. The district wellness plan, each campus principal is responsible for the implementation of FFA local at his or her campus, including any necessary information for the SHAC to evaluate. The Director of Health Services is the district official responsible for overall implementation of FFA local, including the development of the wellness plan and appropriate administrative procedures, and to ensure that each campus complies with the policy and plan. And every 3 years, we're required to evaluate this plan and measure and make available to the public the results of the assessment of the wellness policy. This is called, or referred to as the triennial assessment. And so Laura is going to share with us some information about that assessment. Thank you.
So for those of you who haven't met me or you've seen me around, I've been here about a year. I'm a registered dietitian. I work with nutrition services. I'm the assistant director over the nutrition part of our program as well as the menu. And part of what our department's responsibility is with the wellness plan, not just the nutrition education and nutrition standards portion, is that the Texas Department of Agriculture requires us as a department to be responsible for the oversight of doing the triennial assessment. And so it was time for us to do it. I believe my predecessor, Wendy, when she was here, she helped bring forth the wellness plan and get it approved. And we had passed 3 years, and we came to that around this last spring and completed the triennial wellness assessment June 2020. Okay. The triennial assessment, again, the name speaks for itself. It's required every 3 years after the initial adoption of the wellness policy / plan. I believe we had a little bit of an extension because of COVID. They gave us waivers through the Texas Department of Agriculture, and we received about a year of extra time to not only adopt a wellness plan, but then to have the extra 3 years to complete this assessment. Okay, it's a federal and state mandate, requires us to kind of oversee in an objective manner the assessment of what the district has put together and approved by the school board. Okay, and our part is mainly oversight of the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program, and our program requires, again, for us to complete the assessment on behalf of the district. While in other districts, I've had other departments chime in and also do their own assessment, and we kind of come together and brought it all forth to the SHAC. Something possible in the future, but this is our initial assessment, and so I was pleased with the way that it went. It's a tool, it's a reference for the district and the SHAC in particular to use if and when they deem that updates are necessary due to changes in policy and procedure for the district, due to changes in policy and procedure on a federal and state level for my program. Usually that's in reference to the parts that refer to my program. We make updates based off of national and state regulation changes that are applicable within the wellness plan and the policy. So this is a slide. It talks about what we call, it's our go-to guide because it has everything to do with child nutrition programs. It's called the Administrator's Reference Manual, and they have a section specifically about that, section 23, local wellness policy and stakeholder engagement. And this just essentially says why we have to do what we do and what it must consist of. Okay, the triennial assessment must establish a plan to assess the effectiveness of the implementation of its local wellness plan / policy at least every 3 years, including but not limited to an assessment of the following areas: the compliance, the alignment to a model which is evidence-based LWPS3. It's referenced in this link down here at the bottom of the screen. It goes into further detail about what that is, as well as any progress that we've made to attain the goals within the local wellness plan. We have to distribute this to the public, so we talk about it in SHAC. We also make it available on the student nutrition website, and it is published there now. And we assess the implementation of it more frequently. We're allowed to do that, but the standard is that we do it at least every 3 years. So we gathered some data. I used Google surveys. In previous districts that I've worked, I've been doing this about 15 years. Google surveys seem to be a very good way to get the responses from teachers, parents, and or other staff. In this particular situation, we got our feedback from campuses, from principals, assistant principals, whoever they shared it with filled it out for us. It was used alongside our wellness plan and policy to complete the assessment, and then after we left the Google survey open from about March to May. We used that alongside the wellness plan and the policy to complete something called a WellSat 3.0. It is sponsored by the Rudd Center at the University of Connecticut. It's what a lot of other school districts and nutrition services departments use to complete the assessment of the wellness policy, and so I went with that. It's historically what I've used. It's a rather simple tool to be able to assess the plan. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. First, I wanted to show everybody, to see the campus engagement. I was able to get 12 campuses to respond, 1 high school, Ranch View, 2 middle schools, Bush and Polk, and then the elementary schools that we got a response from were Good, Thompson, Davis, Las Colinas, Kent, River Chase, McCamey, Greenwater, and Blair. This is really standard. I usually get about 50% of my schools in the district to reply to these types of surveys. I wish it could be more, but as long as we get a good chunk of the schools to respond, it's a good amount of data for us to provide as documentation for completing this part of the assessment. And so overall, it indicated compliance with our wellness plan and the goals that we have set forth in the plan. And so after that, I took all of that data come May, along with the plan, and did the WellSat assessment. And this assessment is online. It has different domains. Nutrition education applying to my department in particular. It could also apply to PE, where they do nutrition education as a component as part of the PE programs. But mainly it talks about our program in particular as far as it's concerning with student nutrition. It also asks for the standards for USDA child nutrition programs and school meals. So another piece of it that pertains directly to my department. And then it also asks about nutrition standards for competitive foods and beverages. And what this means here is what we are allowed to sell as a student nutrition department based off of our guidelines. But that set of rules also applies to school stores and anything sold on the campus throughout the school day as part of a fundraiser. Okay, so it asks questions surrounding that. A lot of it, again, it pertains directly to my department because we are food and nutrition, but it indirectly can also apply to things like fundraisers that happen during the school day or school stores at places like high schools. It asks about PE and physical activity, wellness promotion and marketing, and the implementation, evaluation, and communication of how we do all of those things as it pertains to the wellness plan and policy. And at the end of the day, we got a comprehensiveness score of 100 out of 100 because we cover all the bases that it asks about, okay? The total strength of the plan is an 88, simply because although we cover all the bases, some of the language is more generic. And they give you a higher score if you're more specific in your language around certain things like recess and some of the other parts of school health on the campuses, okay? And so overall, we did very good for the first assessment, in my opinion, but I'm the objective assessor of the plan per my department regulations. And so that's why I'm here, to share this information with everybody here, for you all to make the decision as a council if anything in this is a red flag for us that we need to make any updates to the plan as a group, as a collective. Like I said, normally my department will really only, when there's federal requirements directly pertaining to us that require us to make updates, we will be required to do that, because if there's a federal or state level requirement update that impacts this, the way the wording is in this plan or policy, then we are then required to update that language. And this is a document that is live and owned by the district, which means that anything that we change to it has to be brought forth in front of the school board and approved. So it's a big deal. I think that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, my objective today was to share this with you and let you know that it is available in the instance that we do need to look at it further and make adjustments to it.
I wanted to ask a question about the fundraisers that you spoke about. Is that in all the schools or
That is
just high
correct.
school? So are there guidelines that they follow,
Yes.
like cupcakes, no sugar? I remember in our rainwater days.
Correct. It depends. They have to meet if the fundraiser takes place within the school day, the food items that are sold either cannot be consumed. So if it's like unpopped popcorn kernels, things like that, they consider that outside of the realm of those nutrition standards. If it's frozen pizza, because the kids can't literally consume that during the school day, that passes. But things like cupcakes, yes, and they'd have to put it in to what's called the Smart Snacks calculator as a per serving basis, and it would have to meet all of those standards. Sodium, fat, calories per serving, there's other areas.
So everybody has access to that?
They do.
Okay,
And we also have that on our website.
thank you.
There are like 2 days that are cheat days that.
Correct, they
that
have
kind of
exempt
stuff.
time.
A month?
Exempt
They can-
times and dates,
correct.
yeah.
Exempt
And so
times.
that, if you do see it on a campus, that may be why,
Yeah.
depending upon what the date or time is
And
in
they're
which you're
supposed to be
there.
reporting that to my department so that we can keep track of this, because my department gets audited from the Texas Department of Agriculture used to be every 3 years. They've now extended that to every 5 if you're in good standing with the Texas Department of Agriculture, and they will come in and comprehensively look at all of this. And so every time my department is here at a SHAC meeting, I gather all my documents and keep my document going, so that way when they do come to look at us, they see we're actively involved and sharing any information as it pertains to us with the SHAC.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So it's just food for thought, because I know that we're already in the end of February, so if anybody has any ideas of forming a subcommittee, I would be more than happy to take part in that if anybody wishes to further examine this and consider making any adjustments in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So that being said, thank you. Do you feel that there is a need for a subcommittee to be formed to further examine this? Would you like to do that, or are we good with this start and see how we keep going and where our next one rates in 3 years and then move from there? What are some of your thoughts?
We have good scores.
We do have good scores, considering. And our nutrition services, they are evolving, and they have plans of evolving. They hear from our community members and parents and children, and they are bringing in and incorporating various things like more vegetarian options and such. So they're not stagnant. They do evolve and change with the needs of what they hear. So please know that they are very receptive to our input when we do vocalize what our thoughts or wants or desires are, as long as it still also goes with standards, budgeting, and such. So I hope you didn't mind me having that live.
No, we're introducing even more vegetarian and vegan options next year, so we're excited for that. And we're gonna have a tikka masala that's made from chickpeas. We're gonna have some vegan, I call them chicken nuggets that have been found great success among the population. You know, that's vegetarian or vegan. Gosh, we have several other things. We're incorporating a lasagna that is, while it's not vegan, it's vegetarian. It has meatless crumbles in it. And so our chef, we have a district chef, for those of you who don't know, she works very hard, especially from December through April, on developing these things based on student feedback. And we will be meeting with the student to test some of these recipes at the student ambassador meeting, which is held by Katrina Spock.
You can also test on me. Mm-hmm.
Volunteers.
And our children. Yeah, well, you know food. There's no question there. But yeah, my child is a vegetarian due to health concerns. So I'm very excited to hear
Well,
that.
there will be continually more options added to meet the needs of that population.
When you do introduce it, are you going to have like a little send out to so they're made aware? Because I have my son now make his lunch every day, so it'd be nice to have that break, and he begs all the time, please Mama, can I have the school lunch? No. So if I know that kind of stuff is what then I would be, and I know that y'all you have the menus online, but if it's like a featured day, like when you go to roll it out, are you going to have some kind of?
We typically post on social media
Okay.
about that.
Okay, great. Awesome.
I would honestly like to, we're in infantile stages because developing and the evolution of the menu is newer since my arrival at the district. And so we are working on more of like a pick a campus taste test, because we can't be everywhere at once.
Oh, of course.
You know, like a few days before this type of item hits the menu. More in particular, not so much at a high school level, more so at an elementary, because those are the students sometimes all the students are set in their ways, regardless of what grade we're talking about. But the elementary students sometimes are often more apprehensive to try new things when it's unfamiliar, because they're relying on the food that we're giving them in many cases, and they want to go with what's familiar with what they know what they like. And so we're really trying to shape it around focusing a lot on the elementary kids to get them to where they're more inclined as they get older to be willing to try different things that we offer to them. So we will be expanding that. High school menu, tell your son it will be.
Actually, he's at the middle school now.
He's at the middle school.
We have 2 in the high school, 1 in the middle school currently. We're down to 3. We have 6 total, so down to 3.
So thinking about those options, cultural indifferences, I mean, I know vegetarian, beef, that kind of thing, because I know at our soup kitchen, we get everything from those boxes that nobody can eat. So then our Latino community doesn't know chickpea, and our
Right.
Asian community doesn't know pinto beans, so
Right.
that kind of thing.
Well, and then there's some that, due to religious reasons, they
Yes.
cannot or will not eat pork. and
Pork,
such. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
We're
wonderful.
excited for next year.
I'm excited too. Ooh, you could do different meal like options or taste tests at different community festivals that we have for different cultures that are being honored.
There you
Just
go.
saying, because I'd like to eat it. Sorry. Okay. My apologies. So are we good to continue on with what we currently have in place? And as you can see, our rating numbers were fabulous, and for us to continue with that and see how we are in the next 3 years, and then if needed, subcommittee, does that sound good?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, next we have a presentation over a very controversial issue. I had to deal with it with my own child. And it is the issue of student backpack weights. I will say my son was literally falling over and he got diagnosed with scoliosis during the summer, just the beginnings. And I went to go pick up his backpack and I almost fell over.
Yeah.
So I had him return all the hardback library books and he kept only the paperback books. And we have, mind you, a bookshelf in every room of our house, including each of our boys' rooms. And so with that, his backpack was literally half of his weight. Literally. Like, he went to the doctor's office and I weighed on our scale his backpack and it was exactly half of his weight. And so this is a problem that's not only happening in my household, but many others. And so we had a parent who reached out with this concern. And so Linda is going to enlighten us with some research, and I'm also going to give what I found worked for us as well as a parent. So Linda, thank you for addressing this as, oh, I'm so sorry. This is Laura's information. I'm
We're
so
gonna
sorry.
post this presentation also along with the rest of the stuff that's already posted on our webpage.
Wonderful.
After.
Okay, I just want to make sure it works before I continue. Okay. So this kind of came about when Veronica's daughter Angelina walked from Perry over to our office and dropped her backpack down, and we're like, girl, that is so heavy. And we're picking it up, and we're all picking it up, and it's like, this is just too much. This is too much. Maybe, I told Sandra, maybe this should be a shack consideration. So that's kind of how we got this started, okay? And hang on. I had this all set up, but then I shut off the microphone. No.
Or just talk loud. You got this.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. There we go.
You're so cute.
All right.
Good job.
There you go. All right. That was supposed to go out smoother, but you know. All right. So I probably don't need this microphone. All right. Wow. Backpacks. So this could go back way before the 1900s when people were, you know, using rope and boards and things to carry things around. But we're going to go back to Laura Ingalls Wilder there with our book straps, right? Where we didn't have a whole lot to carry. As time went by, 1938, it's a zipper. Wow, that's a thing, right? A zippered backpack. 1969, it got a little fancier, designed for outdoors, but it can be used on campus. And then 1975, somebody got smart and decided that they should use books to measure the ideal square of the shape of the backpack. And then, oh my gosh, look at LL Bean. Huge. Huge backpack, more pockets, lots of books, lots of homework. You can carry anything in there. And then we have different things coming along. We need to have things that are clear, things that are mesh, maybe things that are on wheels. A lot of controversy on all of those. And what's the future? Who knows? Is it going to be a big backpack where we can keep our computer and everything in it? Are we going to go back to messenger bags? And I have no idea what a cord wrap is. So if anybody knows that, please share. But the fact is backpacks are the best invention ever, and they have evolved, and they have made their way into our schools, and are wonderful, but can cause issues. So a few little things here. I'm going to let you just kind of look over it. Something to know. Look at how he's walking and holding all the things that could affect it. His neck, his upper back, his hips, the shoulders, the lower back. Depending on how, this is not a great slide, but depending on how they position and how they're held on their bodies, people are slumping over, people are back like this. We have a lot of different issues. What do you carry in your backpack for students? Well, this is just a little bit of something that they carry. I understand that
I'm gonna use Angelina again, she's here with us tonight. I understand that they frequently, in middle school anyway, when you get a, that cursor's driving me crazy.
Right?
When you get a school supply list, you frequently have to carry a little bit of everything on that list because you don't know when you are going to need it, okay? So, and of course there's multiple classes, so there's multiple binders, there's multiple composition books. Kids also are having to carry their sports gear, their coat, their band instruments, okay? So we are carrying a lot of things in our backpacks. Okay, that's the good. Well, what's the good? Well, backpacks are great, right? They help us stay organized sometimes, unless we really stuff them in. Mostly they can be comfortable. They have great straps. They're wide. You can be hands-free. Safety, backpacks are lightweight. They keep your things safe. They're close to your body, so it's making things less likely to be stolen from you. You can generally carry them for long periods of time. Of course, we also think, people are hiking up mountains with lots of backpacks, so there's a lot of great things about the backpacks. They're trendy, they're getting cuter every day, and of course, they're very, very convenient for us to carry a lot of stuff with little effort. Ooh, the bad. Backpack syndrome. It is a term referring to various physical disorders associated with wearing a heavy backpack and wearing one incorrectly. And if you can see this girl over here, I wish you could see the line better, but the line there is straight. She is straight up and down. She has 5 extra added pounds, and there's a 32% change in her posture, and then extra 10 pounds, and there's this 162% change in her posture. This kiddo, that's a different slide.
Oh, it's on the next one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can see how his backpack is obviously heavy. It might not be positioned completely correctly, as this is better positioned. This kid, we see him walking around every day, right? He's got, he's lucky because he's got a little band thing. Some of them are walking around with great big things. His backpack plus maybe his sports gear from his practice. Bad. Oh, here we go. There we go. This I kind of like right here. This 15% of body weight of the backpack is immediate increased head and neck forward posture. 10% immediate forward lean of trunk. 5% some evidence of some physiological changes and issues. So obviously the heavier it is, the more problems you're going to get with your posture. Ooh, the ugly. Here's what happens with these heavy backpacks. Pain in your shoulders, your neck, your back, headaches, fatigue, numbness in your arms, muscle and joint injury, leaning to one side or hunching, and just really general poor posture. Science. So the American Academy of Pediatrics, the National Institute of Health, and multiple other reputable pediatric associations, orthopedic people, they all agree that the children should not carry weight more than 10 to 15% of their body weight in their backpack. Those are a couple of examples of student weights and the amount that they should be carrying. 21 pounds seems like a lot of weight to me to be carrying around, but that's 10%. I just am referring to this one study. There are dozens of studies. They are similar in what they have to say. I think I missed a thing. Let me just say this in case I didn't. Go back one. Did I say that? 10-15%. Yes, I did.
Yes.
Sorry. So this is a study, backpack weight relative to students, body weight, and among urban and rural school children. It was a 1-year study, 12 to 15 years of age, grades 8 through 10. They had 500 students who were rural and urban. They voluntarily participated, provided consent. They completed a questionnaire, underwent some vital and anthropometric measurements, which is body measurements, and had all the weights measured, including the weights of their backpacks. Sample backpacks were inspected to determine the contributing factors and evaluate adherence to the timetables. So, exclusion, and this is what I really want to kind of focus on a little bit, because all of these people were perfectly healthy.
Wow.
Okay? Everybody, all 500 kids, they never had any issues at all. No health, like down here with the conditions, any systemic conditions, nor any physical conditions. So we dealt with 500 perfectly healthy children. So the average carried by all the kids was 14.3 pounds. That was about 13.5% of their body weight. The boys carried, 80% of the boys carried over 10% of their body weight, and 85% of the girls carried 10% of their body weight, over 10% of their body weight. So girls have a lot of stuff, so I don't know that that surprises me. But all of them are carrying over 10% of what is really recommended.
Linda, what is the average weight today? I mean, is this elementary school, junior high, high school?
Hold that
Okay.
thought. So this study was, what was it, 12 through 14? There were,
Junior high?
yeah, small, like, the
Middle school.
middle
Yeah,
school.
middle school.
Yeah. So that's what this was from. It was middle school.
And when was this?
This study was in 24.
Oh,
April
Last year.
24.
Okay, last
Really?
year, wow.
Yeah. And it was through the National Institute of Health. So in the end, basically, heavy school bags are causing stress, fatigue among the students. Many of the students, are still carrying bags that exceed 10% of their body weight. To address health issues stemming from this, it's recommended to establish new norms and rules to limit students from carrying school bags that surpass 10% of their body weight. Now, that's the study conclusion. So, for fun, we just did a really random, I wish I would have called you. We just did a really random study, selection of students, okay? As you can see, if we're looking at the 10% to 15%, of that 15, and again, this is a small group, and it also is not a group that we were able to monitor what they had in their backpacks, so, we have to take that into consideration as well. But we are hefting around some backpacks. The kids are hefting them around. Angelina is going to grab her backpack and she's going to walk behind you and she's going to let you hold her backpack for a second just so you can kind of get the feel. Actually, when we picked it up, we thought it was like 25 pounds. We thought it was way more than it really is.
Angelina, sweetie, how old are you?
12.
She's in 6th grade. Oh, by the way,
And how much do you
her.
weigh? Oh, my
Okay.
God.
And she is the
You weigh 86
20%.
pounds? Oh, my God. I'm saying, did
She
you?
is carrying 17.4 pounds.
And see, Vance's was 27.
Linda, is that 9-year-old really
0.8
221
pounds, and
pounds
he is
at the top?
At 55 pounds. I'm going to pass it on.
She's 89 pounds.
The
And how
top
much does that weigh,
one, 9
Angelina?
female
25
9-year-old
pounds.
female
Oh, that
220.
is supposed to say grade. Pardon me, how did that change? I swear that was grade. So this,
No, I was asking about the body weight. The third.
that's true.
That's true.
This
Oh,
is
okay.
supposed to be grade, not A.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, grade 9.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry. That is grade.
I was thinking a 221-pound 9-year-old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that. Okay, that was.
Different problem.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, I know childhood diabetes is on the rise, but wow.
Okay, so, yes, so, after everybody holds that, Angelina, I want you to come up here.
Crazy to me. Our backpacks were.
Again, we didn't get to monitor what everybody's
But
carrying.
ours had some, yes.
But I think just from speaking with Veronica and Angelina, she is not carrying things that she doesn't really need. She's got her library book, she's got her binders, she's got her computer, she has got the things that she really needs. She's not carrying a bunch of other stuff. And again, come up here for a minute. Huh? I want
Thank you
to put
so
it on.
much, sweetie. I so respect you for all of this. You are phenomenal. Look at her putting it on.
Wow.
Let's swing your hair to the front. It's hard, like, oh, sorry. Girl, you got too much hair.
It's gorgeous.
She has got she, like I was saying the other day, we were kind of doing this, and we talked about, positioning, what we want our backpacks is to be up here.
Right.
And that is almost impossible for her to do consistently.
Right.
It will drag her back.
Well, and not only that, with the way the straps are, to have it tight enough to have it up there, she can't get her arms in easily.
Right.
And then there's some that have the chest straps, and if you have a chest of anything at all, you don't want to wear the chest straps because it accentuates her as funky as a female.
Yeah. And
But
then some have a waist strap, but I just
but that still
don't
doesn't
see our kids
get it up here. And
using all of those.
I have a question. How many people in general, you don't have to give a number, but just do you see using rolly bags?
Probably like 10 or 15.
10 or 15?
I'm surprised.
Okay, because both of our boys have rolly bags, and my son was kind of apprehensive. He's like, Mama, they don't really do rolly bags in middle school. And I was like, too bad.
Right.
You're falling over.
Right.
You have no choice.
Right.
So is it looked at it as being immature or elementary to have a rolly bag in middle school?
What do you
No,
think?
it's because like the rolling ones, whenever we're walking, it's just in the way.
Yes, he's complained about that. I just wanted to see from the social aspect how it was as well. So, yeah.
And as we think about this, we also have to think about high school has A day and B day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Middle school has this every single
Yes.
day. So-
All 7 periods, plus advisory. So that means 8 classes a day.
Right. Thank you, dear.
You have been fabulous.
My very strong.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Okay, so there's our numbers, and again, this is very.
Wow, only 3 met.
Yeah.
That criteria.
That's so
And
sad.
that's in high school.
And those were.
That's, well,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ninth grade, 11th grade, 9th grade. Yeah.
11th and 9th,
Yeah.
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 And then, of course, the
would
worse
be my
off their
children.
health is, the harder it is to carry
And that's
something
another
like
thing.
that.
Right.
Yes.
So remember, that study was with perfectly healthy kids.
Right.
Okay, we're not talking about kids who have any physical disability at all.
Asthma.
At all.
Right.
So then let's talk about, if we were going to talk about solutions, what would the solution be? Are we going to educate our kids? You need proper fit. Really only carry what you absolutely need. Don't carry on one side. Use both the straps. Make sure it's tightened up. We can do all of these things. Take out some of the books and maybe carry them up here if you have too much weight back here. Don't walk long distances. Don't run with your backpacks. Is that a solution? We just try to educate kids and they'll do what they do. I don't. Lockers. We all used to have lockers. There's good things about lockers, the security. They can sometimes keep you organized, not always. They would obviously reduce the carrying weight, give you extra storage, and just have some personal space. Of course, the cons of that is the time it sucks up in between classes. They can also become a huge potential mess, and there's great places to hide extra things, and it's a social distraction. So I get why lockers run away, but I also see how they were helpful in that, in this kind of situation. So then, just to myself, I'm like, are students with health issues allowed to get a locker? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I would hope, and do they need a doctor's order to get a locker? Is that something that we have to think about too? That's kids that can get a locker.
If we were to do that, then if it was only students who had a doctor's order, then that is drawing a spotlight on those that received a doctor's order. That becomes a problem. So
That's the thing.
Well, and do
Yeah.
all the schools still have lockers?
Yeah.
All of them do?
That I know of. They haven't removed them.
Even
They just stopped
elementary?
using them. No,
Elementary
elementary's never
does.
Most
had.
have them, they just don't use them.
Right.
Most still have them.
Yes. And then I
Some
was
are
wondering,
removed.
are kids allowed to request a locker if they want one? Back when my kids were in school, I think they could still do that. But, then you were kind of the only one with a locker, and maybe that wasn't cool, but they could, But yes, I'm not sure if that's a thing that they're able to do.
Well,
Yes,
so-
ma'am.
So I have a question. I'm a fifth grade mom, so I just know elementary school. I don't know
Oh,
middle
wonderful.
school and high school.
Uh-huh.
Do any parts of the district currently utilize like textbooks that are on the computer instead of like the big heavy textbooks?
Yes.
They do? Okay.
That's actually standard right now.
It is. So how do they wind up with the big heavy textbooks?
No, they end up with big, heavy
Oh, you're saying
Chromebooks.
that's.
Binders
oh,
and
okay.
And then
Chromebooks.
library
Yeah.
books, and then binders,
Okay.
and then notebooks to go with the binders,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's
Okay.
and
and
a,
another
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the
So,
lunch.
another
and-
question that I have then is, does the district have, on the Chromebooks, do they have access to OneNote? Because like for me at work, that replaces all the binders and the notebooks and all the things. I mean, it acts as a binder. Do they have access to that app?
I
don't know if that specific app is on there.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
part
know
of,
how
like,
notes and
Excel,
things are
Microsoft
taken.
Word, it goes with that Microsoft bundle.
Right.
right.
And you can have, it acts like, whenever we were, in the 80s and 90s, when we had the binders, you have like your tabs.
Right,
and
right.
incorporate that into OneNote. I wonder if that's something that they could
So,
consider in the district.
Can I ask Angelina that again? So so you're in class, right, and you're studying, I don't know, dinosaurs, and do you have a textbook? Are y'all going online? How are you doing notes? Do they provide you something? Do you type it up on your Chromebook? How does that look? How does that look?
They usually give us like a book and like we read about it.
So you get a book that you leave there, or is it part of something you bring home? You leave it there.
And if it's not on the last
So-
solution, it's cool.
And Google.
Okay, and then what do you use for note taking and such?
We don't really use our computers for notes
Okay, so you write them down yourselves. Okay,
because there's some apps that are locked for the district.
yeah, there's a lot of apps that are locked by the district.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know with my son, he's a middle schooler at Fields, and I used an accordion folder this year to make it easier, and that helped. But the amount of papers and paperwork he still gets is a lot.
Yeah.
He's also special needs, so he uses his computer for, because he has issues with writing, and he has dysgraphia and dyslexia. So he uses talk-to-speech a lot to help, and that does help some, but there's still a lot of paper that comes home. But even with that Chromebook is crazy heavy in itself.
Gotcha.
And then they have library books and reading books to support content that they're learning, and that adds to it. And then he has a pencil bag in his book, but he also has one attached.
Right.
And so
That's what my daughter's is.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
went through it a couple of weeks ago. And
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, we can take these things out, these
Yeah.
things out,
Oh,
these
yeah.
things out. And she's like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I need my markers. And
Yes.
my hand sanitizers.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And
okay.
but they
Yeah.
do because they're having to and it's not as much in the elementary, but when she gets to middle school
Yeah.
and they are moving from room to room,
Yeah.
they can't count on it. One, the teachers only get $250 per year to spend on that kind of stuff. And it's as much as the parents will donate.
Yeah.
And then it also then is, okay, I'm having to do this project and then wait on this marker to be available. Oh wait, this is dried out because it's now further into the school. So it is so much easier for them to each have their own personal.
And I just didn't know
everything.
until this moment right now that they don't have lockers. And it makes sense.
No.
I understand and get it. I support
Oh.
that. However, not having a place to put your stuff. That's
Correct.
I think lockers.
Correct. And then stuff gets left in a classroom and the doors are locked as soon as school gets out, and then
It's a dilemma.
they're yeah. So it is an adventure. And my son is literally 55 pounds
Yeah.
as an 11-year-old, and he has health issues. And thankfully, his chiropractor wrote a note. And so the way that we handled this is he got access to the elevator, but we also had the problem of the elevator button often doesn't work multiple times a week, and they have to put in notices for it to get fixed multiple times a week. He was given 2 extra minutes as part of his pass period because there's one elevator at one end of the campus, and he often will have classes at the other end of the campus.
Right.
So it is problematic, but it is a solution. Plus, they all just know my child. It's Vance, but if he has to go to the bathroom, which he also has kidney issues, they just know he may be late, but it's also contingent, and he had a real hard time initially with the elevator situation, and he still is, and we came up with our own method of, on the back of his ID, putting a special sticker, so that way they knew he had permission to be on the elevator, because you have to have an elevator pass to be on the elevator.
Right.
And that way other teachers are not harassing him, telling him not to get on the elevator, because that was a problem.
Yeah.
So by putting a sticker on the back, which looks like any old sticker,
Right.
and they know, okay, this means he has permission to get on the elevator, and
Right.
all of his teachers. Initially, the principal said, "Well, email his teachers that he's going to be 2 minutes late." That's not going to work
Right.
because he's going to be late for every class. So then, thankfully, the assistant principal said, "Okay, we're just making this a blanket rule for those that have this sticker on the back of the pass."
Right. And that's something, again, as we
And he has a rolly bag.
yeah, and he has a rolly bag. So as we consider this, that's pretty much the end of my presentation, so I'm going to turn it back over to you to decide if you all feel like this is something we need to move forward with, and there you go.
Maybe reactivating lockers in junior
What?
high. Maybe reactivating lockers in
Yeah.
junior high.
Well, there are
That's what
some schools that, and I'm not saying specifically in CFB, that have reactivated lockers. And again, it still can be a security issue, which has been at all times. But as we know from our last presentation,
kids are gonna hide
you don't need
things
a
they-
locker to
Right.
hide certain
They're gonna
paraphernalia.
find a way to
You can hide it even in a clear backpack, because our last presentation, which was amazing, talking about all the different ways to hide things. So, do we need to have a subcommittee explore this issue, do you think?
I think
if you
so.
say
I think so.
how many for, yes, you would like a subcommittee to explore this issue, if you don't mind a show of hands?
What would they explore?
What would this subcommittee explore? I would think possible solutions per campus or suggestions. I think, and mind you, the Shack, that's what we do offer, is suggestions before the board, and then it's up to the board to either approve or ratify, items that we suggest. So that's the beauty of the Shack, is we make suggestions to the board, and it's up to the board for their approval of it.
And as I was
So-
looking at this, I was like, well, I feel like I need to try to put some kind of solution in. And,
Correct.
And,
It's
this
our
was kind
nature.
of all I could think of. Because it is kind of a hard solution, other than saying, well, you're not carrying that anymore, or we
Right.
are gonna get lockers, or, or there are things that can be left at school. I just don't know that part of the system enough to make those kind of.
I guess my question was more, I didn't ask it the right way, I'm sorry. Is this something like, is in the past, is it something that, so the Shack deems this as something we need to look into? Would it be something that we as a district would bring back to Shack in like presentation format at the next meeting? Or
What
is
we
that
would do
part
would
of
probably
the?
be very similar to what we did with the weather guidelines, of exploring maybe some possible solutions that have been utilized or suggested, and then maybe come up with a few suggestions to offer
Like look
the
at
board.
look at other districts, how they're managing the problem, or
Quite possibly, or again, American Academy of Pediatrics, what their possible suggestions are and what works. You know, like I said, for our family, it was utilizing an elevator pass, but that is one child. We can't have a third of the school fit on one elevator. That's at one end of the school that the button most of the time doesn't work.
Well, I think
But he has a wheelie bag, but it's a two-floor school.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But I think that when, when lockers went away, and I'm assuming it's for those cons, right?
Correct.
I don't know that, but I'm assuming it's, the time and that kind of stuff. I think we just didn't consider what
The
the kids were
impact.
going to be
Yeah.
hauling
Right,
around
right,
all
correct.
day long. And
So
and
another-
maybe this is a middle school issue more than high school because of the A day and B day, and they don't have to have all of their books. Maybe that's a thing, and it's more of a middle school.
I don't know, because I have also some high schoolers and they're back, I go to get theirs, if I go to use one of their cars and I have to empty it out because we know they have it full. And I go to heft it out, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is in this? A load of bricks. And it's heavy just like my middle schoolers is. And they have A-Day and B-Day. And it's because they don't want to switch out, or they're afraid of forgetting, or if schedule is amended, or they have to go and do tutoring for a B-Day class, but it's an A-Day day, or
Right, so
or
that
they
could
get
be-
pulled into. So there's a lot of ors, ands. And
Maybe
so
the American Pediatric, we should look
I
into that.
think this would be
Right.
worth exploring.
Yes.
And then us coming up with some possible solutions.
Let me ask you this, is this a start with Shack thing, or is this a, administrative just discussion?
No, I mean, that's what I was asking, like, I can,
Like, that's what I'm wondering if,
I was gonna say Mr. Moore would be on the subcommittee, right?
because I'm thinking that obviously the Chromebook weighs a certain amount.
It does.
At what percentage does that tip into these formulas? So there's an offset right there, but then like within that, like the book weights, sure, if we're putting everything on the Chromebook, but then if a student's carrying around 7 books in a day and they don't have a locker to go to and they've got to have all 7 books, how do we as a district maybe better manage, classroom issue only? There's different, because there's only so much that, like the Chromebook, there's only so much we can do to limit the weight that goes into those backpacks, but limit that as much as we could. So there's some pieces that we could do to look at.
And I will say that they've already done some great components of some classroom issued textbooks only. They often are, for actual textbooks, limited to classroom, and then they have their online textbook available to reference when they are at home. So that's helpful. But then, okay, here's this runoff. Well, let me say, piece of paper. I realize runoff is old school, but so we have a lot of paper, and each piece of paper ends up adding up, along with how are they going to organize it. And then, okay, they need this book for this class. That is not a textbook. It may be read for content, and pull this, from it. And right now, my son has a dyslexia class. It's not called dyslexia. And then a reading class, and then a writing class. Okay, that's 3 core ones that utilize books. But then his other core classes also utilize literature as well. So he ends up with literature books, which are great, that are also heavy. And then there's reading for fun, reading for choice on top of that as well. And my child, and the amount of World War I and II and just Army and aircraft and oh my gosh, that he brings home, and a lot of those are hardback books, and I had to start limiting him, which was hard for me because, like I said, we have libraries in every room of our house.
Do we want to table this until the next meeting and see what Mr. Moore maybe wants to find out from, what do you think, Chris?
That's what I was thinking too, is maybe you can talk to all of your colleagues and maybe get some ideas or suggestions or just to email
thoughts.
us, just to, put it in an email to.
So do you mind looking into this and letting us know what you find out, and then we can choose if we want to have a subcommittee meeting or just further explore what you teach us?
So I certainly think it's important to look at, I just don't know if it's.
If this
right
is a
here.
proper venue
Right.
or not.
I get that.
And then we think about the overall economic impact.
Yeah.
You need to have 7 backpacks, right? I mean, just thinking if we're trying to cut this down, how does that pie work,
Yeah.
right? So there's a lot to think about.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
And then even if we do bring back the system of lockers, okay, that means one, locker repair and keeping up with,
Right.
maintenance,
Yeah.
think of the word.
Financial.
And then also more searches,
Right.
also more bug and rodent control, because we know those are gonna be filled with food too. So it's and. So it's a bigger issue than just housing books. But I will say I had shelves in my locker for organizing my stuff because I could not function without it.
Can I ask, is there a lot of damage in children right now because of that? And I know it's important, but what is the statistic of,
And I think that's kind of what Linda was exploring with this wonderful presentation, is that it is showing damage. Think about how many kids you have seen that they already have the hump forming on the back right here that you usually have in a much older.
when you're 60?
We all sit up straight now.
We need it, hey, I got a solution, wire hangers in everybody's t-shirt, so they'll stand up.
Do you not remember Mommy Dearest?
No, I just meant it helps you stand erect.
Right.
We will wait to hear from Chris then, and
So Chris, what you doing for our next SHAC meeting in April, right?
or before.
Yay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, now that you've had a little bit of time to look over our weather guidelines, I wanted to give you a little bit of time. I would like to motion for us approving for this to be either approval or disapproval for this to be presented as our official weather guidelines. I wanted to give you a little bit of time to look it over before making such a decision because it is a big, impactful one. So,
May I ask, and this is the one that we sought out UIL, Louisville, Austin, and Richardson, correct?
Richardson,
Okay.
Houston, and Irving, and possibly Plano. So, and I even consulted with their coordinators as well. So,
That's very thorough.
So the committee is recommending that we adopt
so
the weather
do
guidelines.
we have a motion to recommend that we adopt these weather guidelines?
Or that we present them to the
Or that we
board
present-
to
Or
be
that we-
approved.
Yeah, that we present
we-
these,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think you need a motion, I think the committee recommends
Okay,
adoption of,
Okay.
that we adopt.
so
this
as a committee,
Presented.
we are recommending that these, do you all recommend, are y'all all in agreement that we recommend these weather guidelines to be presented before the board for possible adoption? Did I word it right?
Yes.
Okay, any nays?
Discussion?
Any nays? Okay, wonderful.
No discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. Okay, no discussion. Fabulous. Okay, so discussion for future topics for future meetings. One being the backpack. Oh, I'm so sorry. I need a. And then another is we are also we talked about exploring kind of a state of CFB ISD security and safety address. Especially with these tumultuous times, there have been lots of questions about the intent of our safety and security officers on our campus. So one of the things that we talked about, and we were gonna try to have it this meeting, but due to conflict of timing, we are gonna look at next meeting, having a safety representative, a safety and security representative come and speak about that. And then we're also going to have a wonderful presentation from Mr. Moore. Are there any other topics that you would like to have explored for our April SHAC meeting?
Regarding the safety and security, we had an update from the chief of police today at the historic downtown Carrollton meeting, and very thorough, a lot of great information and changes since he's been at the helm. So
Good.
just thinking about that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Good to hear. I know that there, and Parent Square has, and the district has wonderfully put out messages reminding people, we do have safety and security concerns, so we have officers on campus ready for that, and that's what they are there for. It's for our students' safety and security, not immigration issues and such. And I feel like that this topic was important to me to help many feel comfortable in sending their students, their children, and themselves to school for these concerns. So I feel like this would be a great presentation to have.
And then reiterating that, Chris, the immigration piece that Wendy put out right away, I mean, that's for their, to feel secure.
Correct.
Yeah. In our,
Toolkit,
yeah.
pieces.
yes, that's very important, because then it takes away from, and really concentrates on the real safety and security, not these, feelings of
Yes.
horror.
Well, and I will say that while we have that worry has been there for many students for many years.
Yes.
I had a student when I taught in Irving many years ago. He would just take off running anytime he saw a campus officer, and it would just be a security officer because of
Right.
that worry.
Their fear, yeah.
And so it is a real fear.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we have unrest going across the world that it's a real fear, not just for the Latino community. So please keep that in mind, that
Yes.
it crosses so many cultural barriers and concerns. So any other thoughts or ideas or desires for us for this next meeting? No? Okay. Well, I would like to thank you all for coming and participating in this super important meeting. And I'm sorry, my dear, what is your name again? What's your name?
Angelina.
Angelina, thank you so much for being brave and coming up and speaking before us and letting us ask you questions and everything that you have done to help move this very important topic. I am so proud of you, and I think the rest of the council is as well. So thank you all for coming, but especially to Angelina and her mother for taking the time. And Linda, great presentation.
Absolutely, yes, very good.
So, and thank you to Nutrition Services for feeding our children and getting them on the healthy track.
Yeah.
And Mr. Rozier, as always, thank you for your service and your insights. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, we are officially adjourning this meeting
At 7:50.
Till 7.
7:50.
Yes, 6:50 officially, yes.